I'm not really a purse person, not really a bag person either. Like tote bags, we've got tons of them. But not because I wanted them, they just magically compile without any intentionality from me. Seriously, this is a problem. Lately, the last couple of years, I have found myself purchasing a few super adorable purses, cause they're really freaking adorable. But honestly, I'm a one bag kind of person. And I'm only ever using this one when I absolutely have to, because let's face it, I'm a pockets person. So anyway, I want to make a bag. Here's the thing. I'm a sucker for things that look like food, but are not, and things that look like animals, but are not. Why is that so much fun? I don't know. I bought this pineapple-shaped hummingbird feeder, even though all research shows that hummingbirds are less attracted to colors that are not red or pink. And yeah, they don't really use it, but it's cute. So once upon a time, I was scrolling Instagram, as you do, and mine eyes laid themselves upon penguin purse. We're not making a penguin purse. It's really freaking cute, and I really like penguins, but then I went to the page of the pattern maker, and mine eyes laid themselves upon whale bag. It's a tough toss-up, seriously. Whale, penguin, both probably fall on my top 10, maybe top 15 favorite animals list. Do they? I love lists, but I don't actually make like lists of my favorites of anything because I don't really like having favorites. I just like animals, like all of them. I decided that despite my pocket preference, I do really want to try making one of these. And I have settled upon the whale for two reasons. I like that it's bigger, that makes it seem slightly more useful to me. And I like that it looks a little easier because I have never made a bag like this. Tote bags are the highest level I've reached. Yo, I had to buy hardware and I was like, what? How do I know which size of D-ring is best? It wasn't that hard. The pattern had a list of required items. But yeah, we're making a bag, we're using a pattern. This feels pretty out of my wheelhouse, right? I'm gonna steer a little more toward my wheelhouse though. What is a wheelhouse? Where does that phrase come from? When I went to purchase the necessary hardware and everything from good old Wawak, because I can't just run out to Joann anymore, I tried to decide on a fabric for this whale bag so that I could like coordinate the metal colors, coordinate the strap colors, stuff like that. I could not decide, so I just bought some stuff. But after doing so, the answer came to me. Patchwork. Make a patchwork whale. I have so much blue fabric in my patchwork trunk. Make a patchwork blue whale bag. Yay! So that's what we're gonna do. I want to stick to like coordinating blues, and I think I would prefer sort of blues like this as opposed to any kind of like turquoisey blues. This kind of has too much color in it actually. Yeah, I don't like that for this. I definitely want to lean towards fully blue, maybe with some white blended in, but not stuff that has like a variety of other colors in it. I just think it'll coordinate better then. So those are all my scrappy scraps within that blue-white realm. Quite a bit already, but I also, oh, get back in there. I don't like you sticking out. But I also would not at all mind blending in some of my fat quarters that I haven't used before. Not you. Ooh. Actually, I played around with cyanotype for the first time when my sister and my stepmom were visiting last. So actually, I might throw some of these scraps in, especially this one. We tested a thing that did not work. I'll do both of these. They were kind of the fail ones, but here's the ones that did work. I put my scissors on it. This was a leaf from my Dr. Seuss tree. And then this was that leaf lace, the same stuff that I painted over recently for, you know, my lace painting project. Anyway, that was loads of fun. Here's my blue range. Immediately can get rid of anything that has extra colors in it. This one feels too bright, too turquoisey. So we will add all of these to the collection. Okay, so I'm gonna get all of this prepped, AKA ironed, and then we can get started on figuring out this pattern. lightly nervous about it, but I'm sure it'll be fine. While I do the boring ironing, you get to hear a word from today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. Earlier this year, we replaced the creaky old bed frame in our guest bedroom with FlexiSpot's Japanese joinery bed frame and headboard in a beautiful walnut finish, and y'all, 'twas a great choice. I love the look, the sleek lines, the solid wood that matches the trim around the room, but the look of a bed frame is only a small part of the picture, right? There's a lot of other factors to consider, and I'm pleased to say that this bed frame has delivered on all of them. First of all, it was super easy to construct. I was able to do it by myself with the moral support of the puppy. The interlocking joints slide together and use tension and compression to create a really solid foundation that won't loosen over time like screws so often do. The slats velcro firmly in place so they won't shift around, and the entire frame is made from rubber wood, a really strong hardwood that isn't easily damaged. It's finished with a moisture-resistant and scratch-resistant coating too. There are so many little design features that make this a great bed frame. The legs are inwardly recessed, so they fit over your baseboards, placing the bed neatly against the wall instead of having that annoying little gap. The headboard is angled just right to support your back if you're sitting up in bed, reading or watching TV, and there's lots of storage space underneath for baskets, tubs, sleepy puppies. It's not often you find a bed frame of this quality for FlexiSpot's prices. Trust me, we spent way more on the bed frame in our bedroom, and it broke like less than a year later. This one, on the other hand, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Click the link in the description below to experience the FlexiSpot bed frame for yourself. Don't miss out. Use my exclusive code Stitchery to get an instant discount. Transform your sleep with comfort, convenience, and unmatched value. Thank you to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to patchwork and patterns. Let's figure out this pattern. Tis a blessed 9 pages. Woot woot. So much better than what, like 52? Without having had a ton of experience with patterns, with digital patterns, thus far, I will say that this one looks very, very thorough. That's all we gotta put together though. That's not bad. Give me a moment. We'll blaze right through this. That was pretty easy. So here's my plan. These 3 pieces are just for stabilizer. They recommend putting like the slightly squishy kind of batting in it because those are the fins. These 3 pieces are lining, which I don't feel the need to patchwork, so I can just cut those out of fabric kind of plain. This one is lining and main fabric. I think I want to do 2 different kinds of patchwork. On the top part of the whale, which is 2 of these, I want to do like a really small square patchwork. And then on the bottom part of the whale, I want to do like longer stripes of patchwork, if that makes sense. That makes sense. I think on the flippers as well, the underside of the flippers, I think I will also do the stripes, or I might just do the underside of the flippers in one solid fabric color. But yeah, so I basically know from this how much of each patchwork thing I'll need. Not very much. This is not gonna be an intense patchwork project like the last one. So I'm just gonna get to cutting out some squares and some strips. I think I could actually do the thing that everyone said I should do last time, but I didn't want to do last time. What is it called? I forget. But it's where you sew a lot of strips together and then you cut that into the lines of squares and then you sew those together rather than sewing each square individually. I didn't want to do that on my dress because I didn't want any repeat of patterns, but this is so small, I think I can have repeated patterns. So what I'll probably do is start by just sewing all the strips together. Yes, now I'm just thinking out loud. Let's do it. I gotta pee first.
What you doing?
Cutting stuff out.
For what?
A whale bag. I decided I want my patchwork squares to be 1 inch, which might be regrettably tiny, but we're committing. So I'm cutting out strips 1.5 inches wide, however long my scraps will allow. I'll go ahead and do the same width for the striped patchwork on the underside too, make it easier on myself. So once I had a good sized stack of strips, I started sewing them together, just kind of choosing randomly one after the other. I realized after a bit that I would prefer to put more of the darker colors and less of the white on the top of the whale, saving the bulk of the light and white colors for the underbelly. I'm not really sure how long to keep going with this, so I just stopped eventually and switched to a new piece. No dark blues in this one, cause it'll be for that bottom side. Those got ironed, and for the striped underside, I went ahead and ironed interfacing onto the entire back. The pattern says interfacing is optional, but since my fabrics are varying weights and many of them are fairly thin, I'm going to use it on the whole thing. Y'all, I was barely able to fit all of my pieces on here, like millimeters to spare, if that. But I did it! Huzzah!
Cool.
With those all cut out, I decided to do the underside of the flippers in a solid fabric. Maybe because they didn't fit, maybe because it's a design choice. I'll never tell. And I'm using this one because it reminds me of coral. Now onto the piece that I made for the top, which needs to be cut into strips to be sewn together in the opposite direction, making that square patchwork. This wasn't nearly enough, but I didn't want to do too big of pieces at a time because I don't want the patchwork to look really repetitive. I made a whole new section of stripes, chopped that up too, and then got to work piecing those together. It's a little wonky, I think even more so than when I sew the squares all separately, but of course I'm also using a few fabrics that have a ton of ease to them, even though they're not stretchy, so that tends to mess up the alignment. Sometime in the future, I'll do some patchwork with just quilting cottons and be blown away by how much easier it is. But not today. The next day, I got the patchwork finished after tearing apart most of what I had already done to offset the squares rather than trying to line them up. Because y'all, if you are not a precise patchworker, offsetting your patches is the way to go. With everything cut out, I then quilted over all of my pieces, doing sort of wavy, long lines down the body of the whale. In my head, it seemed like water rushing past him. Maybe. Maybe not, but I still like it. And now, we actually follow the pattern. Yay. The instructions, again, look very thorough, but there's a lot of them. It looks like a lot of stuff that has to be done. This is why bag sewing is kind of intimidating to me. This isn't just like a plain square bag. It's got a lot of curves and angles and stuff going on. So I think I'm just gonna need to like fully lock in, focus, go one at a time, do what it says. No winging it on this. I don't think I could wing it on this at all. Like, I look at these pieces and I'm like, okay, I see the whale, but I have no idea how to put it together. I got myself white webbing for like the strap and everything, but I did also get rainbow. I thought it might be fun, but I don't think it works. I shall save it for a future project. And then white zippers and all of the hardware I got in antique brass. I'm a little unsure about these D-rings. It's the size they said to get, but they are really thin. But I guess they go on this webbing. Oh, yeah, okay. D-rings go on this webbing, whereas the strap, okay. Stuff makes a little bit of sense, a little bit. This is intimidating. I have another pattern-based project coming up soon. I shall tell you nothing further about it, except that I'm also intimidated and I've been putting it off literally for a year now. So keep an eye out for that. Let me not procrastinate further by sitting here rambling. Let's do this. Y'all, me and instructions go together like peanut butter and jelly, which is to say not very well because I don't like peanut butter and jelly together. I was immediately so confused and overwhelmed just trying to process the information, even though seriously, I'm not a pattern reviewing channel or anything, but this one is really well and thoroughly written. I realized eventually that they were describing how to sew a zippered welt pocket, which I just did recently, albeit much more lackadaisically. I finally managed to get into the swing of things, reading about a page of instructions through so I knew the whole bit of what was happening rather than just the one line, you know? Then doing one step at a time, trying really hard to follow every little instruction to the letter. Even the hand basting! Look at me hand basting like a pro! Hello, small boy.
We're here to say hi.
Hello!
How's the bag going?
I have finally started the bag part.
That's nice.
It is confusing. Not really, it's just, you know, not something I've done before. What have you been doing?
I forgot I was doing something.
Wow! Stitch the 3 sides.
But yeah, that meant that between each little section of stitching or ironing, there were chunks of me just staring at my laptop the way the puppy stares at my empty dinner plate when I didn't leave him anything to snack upon. We're big on metaphors today, apparently. Slowly but surely, she came together. Wait, didn't I call it a he before? They came together. There were multiple moments of sewing that felt wildly chaotic, and let's be real, I'm not making my job any easier here with the whole micro patchwork material. A lot of times I'd be stitching right where 2 pieces of the patchwork came together, so like 6 or more layers of fabric under the needle, I think. But I am benefited by the random quilting and stuff, because when my construction stitch lines aren't absolute perfection, it kind of just blends with all the prior stitching and the different fabrics, and you can't really tell from 5 feet or more away. So everyone stay 5 feet away from me when I'm using this bag. Despite the chaotic feeling of it all, turns out following the directions as precisely as you can will get you basically where you want to go, in this case at least, because by the time I dragged myself away for dinner, I had what looks like the top of a whale, right? Eep! And I'm really glad I ended the day on that huzzah note, because it made me raring to go the next morning. I decided to skip the shorter side handles, because the patchwork is so pretty and these felt like they would cover up or distract from it a lot. It feels more like a shoulder bag to me anyway. That means it's back to giving the old huh face to my laptop. Yay! The wheels are turning pretty well this morning though, because I got the concept pretty fast without having even touched my coffee yet. Shocking.
This goes like that, and this goes like that. I get it.
It is true that the more you do on a complicated pattern, the more you get what's going on and what to do next. It all starts to make sense if you just break it down to those single steps and go one at a time, which is usually what I'm having to do in my own noggin when I'm self-drafting stuff. So it's quite a bit of a relief to not be on my own there, especially with a project like this. Like whale bag? Not something I'd be able to self-draft right now.
Pocket.
At last, 'twas time to sew the upper body to the lower body, and like y'all, everything lined up. That is such a win for sewists. Turning the whole thing right side out, especially those little flippers, was, well, I made a lot of this face, and this one, and a bit of that one.
This looks like some sort of weird birthing process, which I guess is what turning something right side out kind of is.
And finally, I whipped up that webbing strap, and it's time to see the whale in action. Yay! Y'all, genuinely, such a fun project. I'm so glad that I tried it. Sometimes 'tis good to get out of your wheelhouse, whatever that is. I feel like Scrappy the Whale is a good name because a lot of the patches are my scraps, but also, y'all know I love you guys giving me name suggestions, and there were so many good ones for the whale basket. Go for it. Give me name suggestions. Can you hold my microphone? Because I don't have pockets right now. Ha 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 ha. So helpful. And this does give me a lot of confidence to do kind of two upcoming projects. Like I mentioned before, I have another pattern-based project that I would like to do maybe before the end of the year, considering it's been on my list for so long. And then I do also have another non-garment patchwork project on my list that I will also maybe try to do before the end of the year. We're running out of time before the end of the year, but we'll see what I get done. I love that the pattern for this specifically notes in multiple places that it is not a child's toy. This is not meant to be a stuffed animal, which I get why they had to note, but like honestly, it's kind of a stuffed animal. I love the little mouth pocket. Like, what a clever idea. And the little flippers. Okay, I'm obviously way too in love with this. Oh my god. Instead of a purse dog, like a chihuahua in your purse, I'm carrying this thing like it is my purse dog. What's happening? Stuff that looks like animals, y'all. So freaking fun. Did I mention I got a llama basket? That's unrelated, but I got a llama basket. I'm legit gonna use this. It's so cute. I wanna see people carrying around whale purses and penguin purses. Why pay a ton of money for some, like, sure, well made, but whatever, like square leather bag? Boring. You could be carrying around a whale. Clearly the bulk of the world does not have my fashion sense, which is basically just straight up, everything should be cute. Okay, bye.
Got a whale of a tale to tell you, lads, a whale of a tale or two, about the flapping fish and the girls I've loved on nights like this with the moon above. Whale of a tale and it's all true, I swear by my tattoo.
I thought there was a dead squirrel in the pool for a minute. Nope, he's very much alive. And not in the pool. Squish, 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 squish. You are a good baby. I feel like that had fur in it, which would be unsurprising. Earlier this year, we replaced the creaky old bed frame in our guest bedroom. That's so helpful. One more time. Ugh, God. Sorry. Don't die on me. I don't know why, but I don't want to change the battery. Why is there pomegranate juice on my laptop?
I'm filling the pool.
Why?
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 Because I saw that the squirrel was struggling to reach the water when he was trying to drink the water. So I'm filling it up so it's closer.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.